What's up, y'all? I am back for another video. So today we are going to be reviewing The Accountant 2. Um, I was going to review The Amateur and I just will talk about it here. I'm going to be honest, I don't think that movie warrants a whole video. So I'm just going to give my quick take here. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't good. I was bored. I just wasn't, it didn't really hook me. I didn't really believe Rami's relationship with his wife, who I also felt like it was very kind of undercooked. If you want to say undercooked, not enough development. It just was like, oh, this is his wife, and she gets killed basically in a terrorist attack, and he basically wants revenge. He tries to get his own, and that's hence the title. And it didn't hook me, and even like the action scenes just did not hook me. I I was bored throughout it. And what weird thing is, the movie was only like an hour and a half, like hour and 40, but it felt like 2 hours for some reason. It felt longer than it actually was. It just did not hook me. Um, but the movie, yeah, that's why I decided to not even do a video because I just didn't feel like it even deserved its own video. Like I said, I was fucking bored. To be honest, Rami Malek's a good at Rami Malek or Rami Malek, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. I think he's a good actor, and I don't think this was necessarily his fault. I think it was just the material was given, which was barely anything. And this movie is one of those things too, where when someone's wife dies or loved one dies, they have to beat it in your head. They have to constantly do like, oh, we have them like reminisce about them missing. Like, I hate that. Like, there's a way to do those kind of flashbacks or memories, right? Throughout the film, like The Crow did it. I don't have a problem with when it's like sporadic throughout the film, but when you're just spamming them, and I felt like this movie did it. Every time he was almost alone, he would think about his wife, and it was like, okay, we get it, bro. You miss your wife. You know? The movie was just, and the ending was just not good. It ended with basically he finally confronted, I guess, one of the terrorists, and instead of killing him, he doesn't even get the payoff of doing that. He basically calls like Interpol and the police, and they arrest him. The terrorist, it was, or like the ringleader of the terrorists or whatever. And yeah. So I was like, you know what, this movie didn't even warrant a video. So, but let's get into an actual good movie that I'm gonna review. This is the sequel to The Accountant, which I gotta look back and see if I reviewed that movie. I think I did review it, but I don't know. I'm gonna look back and see if I did the first one. If I didn't, then probably sometime this week. And my schedule this week, at least till Wednesday, I'll figure out what I'll do later, but at least for now, I'm just gonna plan out till Wednesday. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a movie I actually watched today, much earlier, and I guess I can give a quick review of that one. A movie called Black Bag, which came out, I guess it actually came out like a month ago, but I'll be honest, it took forever to go on the season. I just got caught up with other things, obviously Mania and all that, so I kind of lost track of this movie, but I decided that I saw it was on the seas the other day, so I was like, okay, let's check it out. And it's really good. It's, directed by Steven Soderbergh. You have Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender as a couple who are like, they're basically secret agents, spies. And it's kind of an espionage-ish movie. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up on Wikipedia just so I can give you an accurate plot description. And I'm definitely gonna review it tomorrow. This movie was really good. It's a spy thriller, and apparently it was written by David Koepp, who, if you remember, David Koepp is the one who wrote the first Jurassic Park, and he's supposedly writing the new one. So, granted, seeing what he did with this, I'm not saying it gives me hope fully for Rebirth, but it gives me a little bit like maybe he could pull something out with that. I'm still obviously gonna be very cautious after Fallen Kingdom, and if I'm being honest, I've kind of realized that trilogy was not really done well. And basically, the movie is British intelligence investigating traitors, and the whole premise is Michael Fassbender is wanting the traitors to be his wife, and then we actually find out who the traitor is, and And I thought the movie did their dynamic was very well done. The dialogue, I love how tightly written the movie is too. It's not too long. It's like 90 some minutes, and it like tight writing. I feel like the movie flows well, and I love the dialogue. Um, and I saw a comment, like when I was looking at opinions of this movie, I was like seeing people say like um, that they like that the characters are kind of written as adults. And I have to agree. It's kind of nice to see a movie where it's intelligent writing and the characters are actually talking like they're supposed to. They're not talking like it's not like that. Either characters now. It's that millennial CW like writing where everyone talks like a goddamn CW character, or everybody fucking does like the MCU quippy kind of bullshit where everyone does a bunch of quips. It's like this movie, the dialogue is good. It's like this is what I want. I want more movies like this. And I actually like too that it's a spy thriller, but it's not some like how a lot of spy movies, especially lately, have been very like they almost are action movies just with spy stuff. This wasn't that. There's action. I don't even really think I can even say actiony moments, but it's more of like about the thriller. It's almost more of a thriller. I think they lean more into that, and then the character work and the dialogue and the big twist in the end and the reveal and all that. They clearly were more focused on that. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow. But today we are going to be talking about The Accountant 2, which I saw on Friday. And I gotta say, it's pretty good. I really love the first Accountant, which came out in 2016, so 8 years ago. 9 years ago. This movie came out a while ago. And I really liked the first one. The whole premise, like it dealing with autism and all that, and the action stuff and obviously the dynamic. This one very much is carried by John Bernthal and Ben Affleck, and I think that's what really makes this movie for me is their dynamic as brothers. My only beef with this movie really is the fact that I think there was too many subplots. Like one of the subplots, it deals with the woman named, and I'm just gonna say it's Daniela Pineda's character, and there's like a smuggling, there's a human trafficking ring, which I would have just cut all that out. I think this film should have just been, if you're asking me, this film should have just been like, because J.K. Simmons' character, Raymond King, is killed in the opening scene, which I thought that scene was very well done, the action. But I found there was too many subplots. Like, Christian has like his own team of like people like who are computer guys, and I'm gonna be honest, they didn't bother me. I know some people it really did. What more bothered me was the whole saving the kids, the kids that are like trafficked, and it's not sex trafficking. The trafficking, it seems like in this movie, is more of like slave labor kind of trafficking, which is still not good, but just thought I'd point that out. And he is tasked with helping the deputy director of the Treasury Department, Maybeth Medina. I thought her character was fine. I actually think she should have been kind of part of the third act. And like the action stuff is good. I love the way it was shot. I mostly like the performances. I like the action. Cinematography was well done. I just think the only place where this movie has some issues is, I think, for one, this movie should not have been 2 hours. I think you could have easily cut this down to like an hour and 40. And also, I just think there's too many subplots going on. The subplot with Danielle Pineda's character. I guess she's some mom, and they have, there's like this orphanage and that stuff. You have um, that plot, obviously the main plot, and then Daniela Pineda's character, who, in my opinion, she should have been cut. I don't know why she was in the movie, because there's a lot of her scenes. I'm gonna be real. It felt like I was kind of watching another movie at times when she was on screen. The only time where she felt like she kind of was part of the movie was when she confronts Mary Beth, not Maybeth, Mary Beth, and then has the one scene with Christian where he tells her about her son, which she doesn't even go back for her son. They cut to her in the end, and she's just like she's either eating or drinking, and then that's it. What was the point of her character? And it's not even like just I'm saying this because I hated her as Faye in the Cowboy Bebop live action. It's not that. I just found her character was completely unnecessary. Like, I'm being honest. I felt like she was completely unnecessary. Like, I don't know why she was in the movie. Like, it was like, I don't know. It was almost like they were maybe trying to almost set up a spin-off film. That's what it felt like. It almost now that I'm thinking about it, it did seem like they were like, oh, let's tease like a spin-off kind of movie, where I just don't think it needed to go that direction. Because when it's like on the main investigation and they go to Mexico, you have the big final fight in the end, and it's mainly just Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. The film is really good. That's why I would probably watch it again. I think the first one is definitely much better because it's tighter written. And I was saying this in my friend's stream earlier, that honestly, this movie should have just been a revenge story. Christian wants revenge for what happened to Raymond. That should have been the movie. And you could have still had the deputy director part of the movie, but that should have been the movie. The whole trafficking element, the rescue mission in the end with the kids, I just felt like was unnecessary. A lot of just extra unnecessary bloat. Daniela Pineda's plot, and I normally would like go through the whole movie, but I'm gonna be honest, just because there's so much, I'm just gonna kind of just give a standard review. Maybe like what I might do is down the line I'll do Accountant 2, Accountant 1, because I don't think I've reviewed the first one yet. So I think we'll review the first one sometime this week, and maybe I'll do like a spoiler. I normally don't do this. Normally my main review would be a spoiler review because Wikipedia wants to be a fucking moron. They don't have the general plot, so I'm gonna have to review it later. But I mean, the movie starts with J.K. Simmons getting murdered in the beginning, and then the lady going to Christian Wolf, for his help. And I'll admit, one of my favorite scenes of the movie was when he goes to get information he goes to like it's like some factory, and he confronts the guy about it because he can tell he's lying, and he has ties to the traffickers. And we get a cool little fight scene, and I also like Christian in this one is much more, how in the first movie he was very reserved and, kind of didn't talk a lot, and, he was, I guess, shy if he wanted to, or kept to himself kind of deal. In this one, I like that he's much more open. You could tell like his character grew. There was actual growth there. And, they're like, I felt like there was very much pacing, especially that first, like, I would really say almost first hour. You could have whittled that down. Like, this movie didn't need to be 2 hours. I think you could have whittled this down to like an hour and 40, hour and 45. I think this movie would be far better. I think if they kept, largely, like, I understand sequels, right? Largely, like, expand the story and go into more lore and stuff. But I feel like there are sequels out there that still relatively keep it simple. But you know, cause like sequels do. Okay, we're just gonna have more action and more set pieces, but we're gonna still keep the story largely simple. Like, for example, Lethal Weapon 2, the plot's pretty simple. They gotta stop the African these South Africans who are basically committing crimes, and that's the movie, pretty much. The only thing is, it's just a bigger. You know, you have more car chases and more set pieces. That's what I think a good sequel should be. Sequel doesn't always need to overcomplicate the plot to add more. And I think this is the movie that did need it. I really think it should have just been a revenge story. And I also think J.K. Simmons, there should have been more of him. I would have killed him. I'm fine with killing him off. That's not really the problem I'm having. I just think he should have had a couple of scenes with Christian in the movie before he died. Maybe, in the first 10 minutes, instead of meeting with, having that opening scene, maybe, the opening scenes with Christian, maybe you have him do some kind of action scene or something. And then he has a scene with J.K. Simmons' character and, build up the fucking, their connection. And then obviously then you can kill him off. And then that sets off the story of him wanting revenge. And that's probably what the movie should have been. I do think there was just too much going on. I'm fine with like the kids taking down like the satellite. Like, I get it, the plot's out there where they're able to like hack satellites and they were mute the whole time. I get it, but it didn't really bother me. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I don't think they're in the movie as much as. I think that's partially why it didn't bother me, because they weren't in the movie a lot, if I'm being honest. The only real beef is the trafficking story. I almost don't think it was needed. And I think it also didn't help that this movie came out a month after I already saw Working Man. Basically, granted, this wasn't sex trafficking, but it still had the trafficking element. I really, I'm going to keep saying, they could have streamlined the plot to be about revenge. Cut that, definitely cut out Daniela Pineda. I'll admit, she had some okay scenes and all that shit, but I just don't think it was needed. I just don't feel like, and the fact that she only really had one scene with Christian, and that was it, because he was him telling her about her son, and she doesn't even really go after. You know what it felt like? It really did feel like they were almost like trying to set up a spin-off with her, but I'm gonna keep it real, Warner Brothers, no one's gonna fucking watch that. I'm just gonna, if you are thinking about it, because I'm gonna be honest, it did kind of feel like that. Because her character really doesn't add to the actual story. She has one fight with Mary Beth, like, later in the movie. But that's kind of it. But yeah, I love Braxton's character. I do love how, like, it shows how estranged they are, but they still have chemistry. I love when they argue. The one scene when Christian decides he's gonna go save the kids. Braxton's like, I'm not going to come with you. And then, you have, like, Christian driving on slow because he basically knows he's going to come. And then Braxton's like, all right, if you want to go get killed, we'll do it then. Like, I really love their dynamic. They make this movie. And I'm probably going to title this video Batman and Punisher Team Up, because that's basically what this movie is. And I really love that. And I think that's why I'm also really high on this movie, is that, for me, character work is very much, I can almost forgive plot issues sometimes when you have a good enough character work or good enough like character dynamics that can carry the movie, that I can almost ignore plot issues. Like, I'm gonna be real, some of the later Lethal Weapon movies do have some plot issues, especially 2, but I still really love them because the dynamic of Riggs and Murtaugh, I was thinking of Rush Hour, but even Rush Hour I could throw in that, where those character dynamics carry the movie, that I can almost overlook the issues. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this movie. And I think they're together enough that they're pretty much together most of the movie. He calls Christian for his help. And, I even liked his dynamic with the Treasury character. And I actually wish she was part of the third act, where they go save the kids. The only thing with that, I just felt like that was another tacked on plot. And I get it, because he was building the whole school which they set up later in the end of the movie. But I just think the plot should have been more streamlined. That's my biggest beef. Really, is that there's this plot is not as streamlined as it. I feel like they overcomplicated the plot a bit than they needed to. And I will say this: the movie's pacing issues isn't terrible. Like, I don't think it's bad pacing issues, but there's definitely pacing issues, especially within, like, I would kind of say that first, like, maybe 40 minutes to an hour. I just wish they whittled it down a bit to, like, instead of 2 hours, have it be like, I'm not even saying an hour and a half. Like, whittle it down to like an hour and 45. I think even hour and 50 if you want to push it. I think you could easily have cut down 10, 15 minutes out of this movie. And I really just don't love that they added this Daniela Pineda's character when she doesn't even add to the plot. It's almost like it makes you seem like, oh, we're gonna confront her in the end and all this, but Mary Beth has the one fight with her, which the fight was decent, but when Christian confronts her, he just tells her about her son, and then she leaves, and then we see her again, but she doesn't interact with him. I don't think she ever interacts with Braxton. It's like, why are you here? And the ending really did make it seem like, are they trying to set up a spin-off with her, or what? Because her story feels almost unfinished, and it shouldn't even have been there. And I'm not even just saying this because, like, I'm going to be real with you, I don't really like her in most things I've seen her in. She was in the Jurassic World movies, and there's some stuff I like in Fallen Kingdom, but she's definitely one of the worst parts. And then, obviously, she was in fucking the shitty Cowboy Bebop live action. So it's not even that's not even my beef with her, really. It's just her character just feels wedged in that it's not necessary. It didn't need that shit. She didn't need to be in the movie at all, if you're being honest. I saw someone make a joke that she felt like a random, almost like Black Widow, and I kind of agree. Her character felt like she was basically Black Widow. I'm like, why is this character here? She doesn't add to the plot at all. She's almost a MacGuffin, but then she stops being a MacGuffin. I would have, if you ask me, I'm going to reiterate, this should have just been a revenge story. Christian wants revenge for what happened to Raymond. And then he goes to have him, maybe Mary Beth's character, have them actually just be friends, that they know each other for a long time. And he asks her for her help, and then he goes to his brother. And that could have been the plot. If you just streamline the plot, but just have more action scenes, more like set pieces, and that's where the money went for like a sequel, instead of doing like a more convoluted plot I just don't think this movie needed it. It didn't need this convoluted plot. Because that's what made the first Accountant so good, I think, was just how simple it was. It wasn't an overly convoluted plot. There wasn't too much going on. Like, I felt like in this movie there was just too much going on. I'm just being honest. There was way too much going on in this film that I just don't think it needed. And, like, even the school, I'm fine with, but I'm also like, I didn't need the kids. I really, not the tech kids. I'm talking about the kids they had to go save in the end. I would have just had the final act be, they confront the guy who killed Raymond, and they're going to try to take his team down. And maybe the kids happen to be there, so maybe you could still have them there, but that's not the main reason they're going. I would just rework the plot, really. But overall, guys, I still really like the movie. I just wish it didn't have as much going on as it did. I think some movies do this too much. Where they feel like because it's a sequel, we have to have a bunch of subplots and add more, and that's what makes a sequel. Like, there are cases where you can add more plots and subplots, and it's fine, and it doesn't take away from the movie. But when I feel like you're I feel like in this case, it didn't need to. It didn't need it. I think if you wanted to put more money into like the action scenes and the set pieces, and focus on the character work, but have the story mainly just be he wants revenge. Like, honestly, you cut out the trafficking element, you definitely cut out Daniela Pineda's character. She was not needed at all. She almost felt tacked on. As like we needed something. I don't know if they were going for like a thing of we wanted to have like a bunch of plots going on, and they were like, let's try to interweave these all together. Maybe that's what they wanted, and I think that's maybe what they were going for. I'm happy the movie's doing well. Like, I think it raked in like $20-some million, which is pretty good. So I'm happy it's doing well. I just like streamline the plot a bit more, but I still like very much have this movie rated high. I gave the first one like a 9.5. I'd give this one. I think I initially gave it an 8.5, but I'm gonna probably whittle it. I'll take that 0.5 off. I'll still give it an 8 out of 10. I still really like the movie. It's definitely gonna be like one of my favorite movies of the year. It's not my favorite, obviously, but it's definitely up there. And I thought it was a decent sequel. It did its job. I thought it mostly did what a good sequel did. I just didn't. The only real issue is just the extra plots that weren't needed, the extra side plots, the extra, not just side plot, the extra characters that weren't needed. I thought the whole trafficking element wasn't needed, when especially it just didn't help that I already kind of had that element. Granted, well, I'm gonna keep reiterating, it wasn't sex trafficking, but it's still I already watched a movie where they had a trafficking element, and the whole point is we have to save someone who's being trafficked. Granted, it was sex trafficking, but still, the trafficking plot where they have to say, granted, isn't a bunch of kids, it's one, but it's still kind of that kind of plot, and I felt like this movie, it wasn't needed. I'm gonna keep saying it throughout the video, and that's gonna be the theme of this, is I just think the plot could have been streamlined a bit more. But outside of that, I still really like the movie. Like, I would watch this again, especially like back to back. And for a movie that, it took so long to get made and it's finally out, and how long, like for a sequel that's 9 years later, I thought it still did that job. And for me, I'm gonna reiterate, I'll be honest, a lot of this movie I love is because of just Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal's chemistry throughout. They really feel believable. I actually like Christian's development. I like that he's much more outspoken and is trying to connect with people much more throughout. That's actually what made the movie too for me. Besides, his dynamic with his brother. And I didn't mind the Treasury character, Mary Beth. I thought she was fine. I do wish she was kind of part of the third act. I do feel like she just kind of got, after obviously the fight with Daniela's characters. I'll be honest, I can't say her fucking name. It's like Anai or Noi, some shit like that, and I think she gets injured during it, and she's basically gone through. Not for the rest of the film. She comes back in the end, but I do think she could have been part of the third act a bit more. But I still really like the movie. So out of 10, I'd probably give this. I'll give it an 8. I still think it's a really good movie. I very much recommend it. Do I think you should go? I recommend, if you're gonna go with theaters, I kind of agree with my friend Cowman. Go do a matinee showing, and that's it. I think that works. But overall, really good movie. So tomorrow I'm gonna review Black Bag. It'll be like an actual review, like my normal review where I go through the whole movie. But I still wanted to talk about this movie, and I felt like I did a decent enough job. I didn't go uber into the plot like I normally do, basically, and kind of talk about the whole movie. I just but I can't right now. I'm just gonna be honest. There'll probably be like, what I'll do, kind of like I said, I'll maybe do it later this week. Hopefully the Wikipedia will fucking have the whole plot by then. I'll go through it like the actual story, and I could probably go into more. So there'll be a part 2. I won't call it a spoiler review. I'll just say a counter review part 2. Go more into detail. So I thought I went into decent enough detail relatively for the most part. I just didn't go through like the entire plot like I normally do. But so there'll be definitely another part 2. This will be a rarity where I do that. I normally don't do that, but I'll do that here because I do want to do that for you guys, and even for myself. I like going through basically the entire movie. Obviously, I'm not going to go through the entire 2 hours in every single scene, but I like giving the gist, basically, of the entire movie, somewhat scene by scene at times. You know? I like going through the movie. I like talking about it. I don't like just doing, jumping around and talking about different scenes and stuff. I like generally going through the entire plot. But Wikipedia decided to be a cunt and not upload the whole movie, upload the plot yet, even though it's been out for fucking days now. But anyway. So, Count 2 was good. It has issues, but it was good. So, that's my gist there. Tomorrow I'm going to review Black Bag. And then Tuesday I'm going to check out this movie called Havoc, which is directed by the director who did The Raid. So I do want to check that out because I really love The Raid. And it came out on Netflix. And I saw a couple people say it's pretty good. So, and I really am loving Tom Hardy and Mobland. So why not check him out in this movie? Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And then I think Wednesday, what I'm gonna do, I'll figure out what I'll do Wednesday. I'm probably gonna do I'm thinking about doing The Departed, since I rewatched it earlier this week, and man, that movie is so good, and it almost made me like, you know what, fuck it, I want to do a review and go through each twist. And Martin Scorsese, the cast, the main cast, like even just fucking, obviously Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, fucking Martin Sheen, fucking, even though I don't like the fucker, I thought fucking Alec Baldwin was great in the movie. Even though he's not a main character, even Anthony Anderson was pretty good in it. Jack Nicholson as Costello was really good. And the wild thing is, outside of DiCaprio's character Billy, he was a good guy, but Mark Wahlberg, aka Sergeant Sean Dignam, I think is his name. Even though like throughout the movie he's basically a dick, he's actually the only other really genuinely good guy. Because obviously Matt Damon, we find out later, is a plant from Costello. And I love the twist ending where, Billy gets shot, and then, seemingly Matt Damon got away with it, and then obviously gets killed in the end. I love that. I love that movie. I love that whole film. So yeah, we'll review that Wednesday. So that's my plan, at least till Wednesday. So, anyways, guys, subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. Check out our most recent stream where we reviewed WrestleMania, and we went in on the fucking bald fuck The Rock. Fuck The Rock, by the way. I just needed to say that again. But anyways, I call it here. The Count 2 was pretty good. Like I mentioned, has some issues, but overall, I like the movie. I definitely recommend it. I think you should watch it. Even if you don't see it in theaters, I think it is worth watching. It's only 2 hours. It's not uber long. I just think you could have whittled it down. I'm not even saying you whittle it down because I think it's too long. I just think there's just some bloat in it that's just not needed. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna talk to y'all tomorrow.